Hi, I'm Pauline Koelling. I'm a chartered physiotherapist and a Bowen therapist, and I use acupuncture in my practice as well. And I thought what I'd love to share with you today is how we could use some acupuncture points to help strengthen your immune system. Because we can't always get to a therapist, I thought I'd show you how to just use the points to stimulate those acupuncture points with your fingers and thumbs. So we call them acupressure, using acupressure on those points to help stimulate your immune system. So if you're somebody who's dealing with a long-term illness, something like cancer, you really want your immune system to be able to do its best for you and to perk it up. And alongside really healthy eating fresh, good food, getting enough sleep, getting fresh air and a bit of exercise, and learning how to cope with everyday stresses. Something like acupressure could be really beneficial alongside those things to give you a bit of a boost. And so the idea is that the Chinese found these meridians in the body, these lines where they felt that the energy would flow, and sometimes the flow of energy can get blocked due to disease or circumstances or thought patterns. And the way to release that blockage then is to use these points and to stimulate these points to get the flow of energy going again. So I'm going to show you about 10 points just now. You don't need to use every point all the time. You'll have to learn where they are to begin with, but once you know where they are, it's very quick and easy to do. The best way to use them is really when you're sitting comfortably and relaxed, and as you put the pressure onto the points, just to do some deep breathing as you stay with that point. So breathing nice and deeply through your nose, in through your nose, and then a relaxed breath out through the mouth. And as you hold that point, probably for about a minute, to get the best benefit from it. So there are points on both sides of the body. So it's best to treat both sides. And I'm going to start then with one just at the top here called kidney 27. Now this is a point that's just below the collarbones. So if I just move my t-shirt here, so you find the midline of your collarbones, and just below that there's a little indentation between the ribs there, and that's kidney 27. So you push in with your finger. Now, acupuncture is firm, but it's not hard, and it shouldn't be painful. If you use these points and you're feeling fragile, then just very gently put some pressure on. If you want to go a bit deeper, you can, but it shouldn't be painful. Okay, so you just let your fingers sink into the tissue until it meets a bit of resistance, and then you stay with it there. And this is where you do your deep breath. So breathing in, a long, slow breath out, and stay with each point if you can for about a minute. I'm not going to do all that with you now. I'm going to show you where the points are, and then you can do those in your own time. So that's the first one, just there. This point as well is good for anxiety. So if you're feeling anxious, that's also a good one to use. And if you've got breathing difficulties, it's another good place to try. So the next one is on the lower back. So just where your waist is, if you put your hands on your waist and then follow it around to the back, there's 4 points here to cover. So I'm just going to use my soft fist and use the knuckles just to rub gently here and here. So there's some bladder. This is on the bladder meridians, and this is good for your immune system. It's also good for low back pain. It's also good for fatigue. So just rub gently until you feel that friction, until you start to feel that warmth in there. And you can do that again, breathing deeply and releasing the breath. The next one is halfway between, it's on your tummy, so it's halfway between your belly button, so my belly button's there, and the pubic bone, which is top of your pelvis here, and about halfway is here. It's just above my belt on my jeans here. Put 2 fingers in that point in the midline, and as you sit, just holding. So let your fingers drop in through the soft tissue until you meet a resistance, and then hold that point there. Your arms should be nice and relaxed, your shoulders should be relaxed, and you're just doing the breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now that's a good point as well for constipation, or if you're feeling bloated in the tummy, that's a nice one to use. The next ones I'm going to show you are on the feet and on the leg. So the first one is on the knee, actually. So I'm going to put my leg up there so you can see, hopefully. And if you put your flat of your hand on the bend of your knee there, like that, about where your fourth finger is, that's 4 fingers down from the knee joint, and then slightly out to the side. And you'll feel that there's a muscle there. The way to find the right place is if you then lift your toes up and down, you'll feel that muscle bulging as it contracts and relaxes. So you're on the right point. And then either just press in firmly with your fingers, or you can again use your knuckle and just use a bit of friction on the tissues gently. You feel that heat build up. So that's stomach 36. And if you're sitting, you could do, if I could sit on here, you could press onto both of those at the same time. You could do both sides, couldn't you? Just there, stomach 36. And that's a really widely used point in acupuncture. And it's also good for the digestion. And it's also good for relieving fatigue. There's a nice point to go to. And by the way, if these points feel particularly tender, it's usually because they need to be treated. So you're finding the right place. If it feels more tender than other spots around that area, that's the spot. Okay, the next one is kidney 3, which is on the ankle. So if you find the inside of your ankle joint, that bony prominence right on the inside, the bottom there, and just below that, so if you let your finger roll off the bottom of that, there's into an indentation down there. And if you feel around, you'll feel a little indentation where your finger just drops in. And that's kidney 3. So you can press into that. This is another good one for fatigue. Oftentimes when we're dealing with something like cancer, you can feel really fatigued, either due to the disease or the treatments that you're getting. So this is a nice one to use for that too, but we're using it today for the immune system boost, and it's just in there. So you can do that side, and then you can do the other foot. And if you're unable to bend down and reach that, what you could do is just take the other heel and just pop it on that spot and just rub up and down there. Friction again to stimulate that point, like that. So we start at stomach 36 at the knee, down to kidney 3 just below the ankle, and then onto the foot. So here you want to find the space between your first 2 toes, big toe and the next toe, and then let just your finger run up between, on the top of your foot in a valley. You can feel an indentation until it just comes to a stop. That valley stops. If you find that on yourself, you just place your finger between your first 2 toes, run up, and you'll feel a valley, and then just where that valley stops, that's where you want to press into there. And that's liver 3. And that's a really often used acupuncture point, actually. We use it a lot for pain, but here we're going to stimulate that as part of helping your immune system. And it's another good one actually for things like headaches. It's a good one. And it can be really quite tender, so go easy on that if it's really sore. You might find it easier if there's a really tender spot, just to rest your finger there and just ease it. And if you hold it there and it's sore, it should, as you do your breathing, that intensity should dispel a little bit and get easier as you release it. If you wanted to, of course, you could do it again with your heel. You could just rub that area. So you could go from your inside of your ankle, then onto the top of your foot to stimulate that point if reaching down to your feet is too difficult. Great, so the next one, we're going to go up to the arm now for these. So I'm going to find your elbow. So just when you bend your elbow, you'll notice the crease on the outside of your elbow, just where that crease finishes, is large intestine 11. There we go, just there. And that's a really good spot for immunity. We use that spot for other things like tendinitis at the elbow, and it's a bit of a tender one there. Also can use that for constipation, funnily enough, or fever. So there, and if you're clever, you could probably do both elbows at the same time and sit and breathe as you release. And as you're breathing, just thinking about releasing the tension in your body, letting your shoulders drop down, letting everything relax, and just feeling, sort of quite mindfully, I suppose, just feeling the sensation where you're pressing, being aware of it and how your body's feeling. So we're coming down from the elbow down to the wrist for the next one. So 2 fingers above the wrist. So if you bend your wristing up, 2 fingers width, and it's in the centre of the arm there, in that indentation between the radius and the ulna, the 2 bones in your forearm. And there's a dip there, and that's triple warmer 5. I'm going to press my fingers into that. I can't really do these both at the same time. If you want to, you can use your thumb on the other side to press in. I'm trying to use the tip of my finger just to really get the spot. And hold that there and breathe. And then do the other side. This is a good one for tendinitis or for rheumatism, pain in the elbow or the wrist. So we're coming from the elbow to the wrist. Now we're coming down onto the hand. So this is a really well used, often used point in acupuncture. It's just in the web space between the index finger and the thumb. If you put them together, you'll see a mound of muscle comes up, and in the middle, at the height of that mound, is really where this point is. So you find the mound of muscle, put your finger on it, and then you can press on the other side, pressing into that point. And that can be quite a tender one as well. So if it's too sore, just back off the pressure. Now don't do this one if you're pregnant. The Chinese would say not to do this one if you're pregnant. Just to hold that spot there. So then you can obviously do the other one here, the other one here, and the other one here. Each taking a minute to do the breath. And then finally, the last one I wanted to show you was just on the breastbone. So further down from this kidney 27, you come onto the midline, the sternum, and down to the centre, about there. And you can just use the tips of fingers here. You can either just gently rub it, or do little circles, or you can just press in and hold. If it's too tender, it's just easier to press in and hold. And then feel your ribs move in and out as you breathe, letting go of the tension as you go. So there we are. Those are some of the points. And this is a good one as well for anxiety. Often these points on the front of the chest are good for anxiety, depression as well. In fact, that point's called a Sea of Tranquility, which is nice. Good name for it. And it's a nice one to finish with. So there you go. There's some 10 points we can use using acupressure, and they're really useful. I use acupuncture in my practice at Cornerstone Therapies for all sorts of musculoskeletal pain, but also for things like hot sweats, which often cancer patients can suffer either as part of their disease process or as part of the treatment that they're receiving. So acupuncture can be really useful, and I wanted to show you how you could use those points yourself to just give a bit of a boost to your immune system, to help you combat what's happening to your body. Okay, lovely to see you. Take care. Bye.